in. That's because y'all have waved, but I see like 15 people on here. But if you come in, please say hi. We want to shout you out. And again, thank you. So we're going to wait just a few minutes. But in the meantime, at least we can get the lighter part out of the way. So let me introduce you to these great people. Again, you all know them, but let me just represent them to you. Tonight we have Miss Jervonne Newson, powerful, anointed vessel of God, who's also an attorney, a fellow graduate. We're both MPA grads. And so she is just an all-around powerhouse. And she is the lead pastor of St. John Missionary Baptist Church in Jonesboro, Arkansas. We have the Mr. Colton Gilbert, who is a phenomenal teacher who leads hundreds of students to articulate and debate prep and all that. He's like the go-to man for communication. And he's currently also running for president of the Little Rock School District Union. Did I get that correct?
Yes, the Little Rock Educators Association, Education Association. Definitely.
Education Association. Yes, okay. If I could vote, you would have my vote. Because I know you would lead well. And then but certainly not least, I had the privilege of meeting the phenomenal, the intelligent, and our favorite diversity specialist, Mrs. Amber McCoy, at St. Bernard's. They were hosting a workshop here, and she just wowed us just with her presentation delivery and the confidence she had to lead us into some great conversations and perspectives about diversity and inclusion. And so, y'all, this again, I just have the easiest, the easiest job in the world. And I'm Shunqetta Cunningham. I'm host of Courageous Conversations for Action. And I'm just thankful to be able, again, I always have an easy job. For every guest that comes on here, I simply ask a question, they take it away. But this platform is truly about having those hard conversations so that we can get to and fostering better implementation of the things that we need to really move our communities forward. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hi, Miss Sonia, Mrs. Vicky, Mr. Patrick, my line sister Tangi said hi, and Miss Rebecca's on here. Our sorority sister Cynthia is on here. Natasha, Mildred, thank you all. I'm trying to shout you out. You say hey. So say hey, y'all.
I'm sure my mom will be here. She come to all my recitals.
I'm a best friend. What'd you say?
I'm sure my mom will be here. She come to all my recitals.
That's one for mine as well, and Jervonne's as well. So yes, we are grateful for that. All right, so let me just start with an introduction, as I always do before the panelists start. So just again to put into perspective the context of the conversation that we are going to have. Why are you following me? Trayvon Martin. Please don't let me die. Kamana Gray. I can't breathe. Eric Garner. I don't have a gun. Stop shooting me. Michael Brown Jr. I didn't do anything. Natasha McKinney. I don't want to die young. Christian Taylor. I wasn't reaching for it. Philando Castillo. I want my mama. I can't breathe. I'm just different. That's all. I'm sorry. I love you. You all are doing a good job. Elijah McClain. The context of this conversation tonight is centered around the start of Black Lives Matter. 2013, after the acquittal of George Zimmerman, a hashtag was started by 3 women. And the hashtag after, in fact, let me read, I would be remiss not to read her statement, but activist Alicia Garza posted, Black people, I love you. I love us. Our lives matter. Black Lives Matter. And then her friend, Patrice Cullors, used the hashtag Black Lives Matter on Twitter, March 2013. And from there, we have the Black Lives Matter movement. There's been a lot of conversations about what is Black Lives Matter. There's been a lot of false comparisons. That Black Lives Matter is just a Black KKK group. That is a hate group. That its intent is to destroy America. Today, as a proud supporter of that hashtag of Black Lives Matter, and joined by other people who are proud supporters of that hashtag, we want to have a conversation. Not that we represent the Black Lives Matter organization, in which you can find more information at blacklivesmatter.com easily for your own pleasure and for your own knowledge and understanding. But also so that we're having a conversation so that you can understand, and hopes to know that if you don't do anything with the information, at least you know the right information. So with that, we are going to jump right into it. All righty. Let's start with you, Colton. When we say Black Lives Matter, does that insinuate that we are saying all lives do not matter?
No, thank you. Of course not. I think the response of all lives matter comes from a paradigm which is always operated under only white lives matter, right? And then those tangentially related have some like level of matterism on the spectrum, right? So when they hear, or certain people hear Black Lives Matter, they hear an only, but we're not saying that. It's like the two is silent is kind of what we're trying to say, right? So I think that's my succinct answer to that, and why I think it gets weaponized, you know, in terms of all lives matter as a response, or blue lives matter. I've never seen a blue person before, but
Ever.
Yeah. So I'll pass the question off to the other panelists.
Sure, jump in, Jervonne. Amber, I just started off with coaching.
I think that Black Lives Matter, while we show homage and deference to the women that started the organization, the sentiment is not new. The sentiment is the same sentiment that our ancestors shouted before landing in the Atlantic on the Middle Passage. It's the same sentiment that Dred Scott fought for, that his life mattered. It's the same sentiment that Emmett Till's mother told you her son's life mattered. It is the exact same sentiment Reese Taylor said, my life matters and this rape is not okay. Black Lives Matter has nothing to do with the organization and everything to do with that statement. The affirming statement that covers the entire diaspora. And when we're going to be specific, the definition of the word matter is a subject for consideration. So there's a population of people asking for their lives to be a subject of consideration, and it's being met with opposition. So there is no why are we saying all lives matter. The truth is anti-Blackness is just as American as white supremacy, and that is why saying Black Lives Matter seems like terrorism.
Yeah, Jervonne, you want to add to that?
Yes, so I agree with all of these fine panelists, and it's about to go down. Let me just say this, because I feel it. I feel Amber. She's trying to control herself, but she's gonna let loose in a minute. Let me just say this. I'm an attorney. Brother Colton, you can agree with this. Before you even have a conversation about a resolve or a resolution of Black Lives Matter, you got to have the same premise. If we don't understand the premise of the conversation, we're not going to have a fruitful conversation. And this is what bothers me about society. They want to change the premise of why we're even saying it, so that they can make and justify their own arguments. And see, I don't argue with ignorant people. Because if you don't want to have the same definition and the same premise, the same foundation of why I'm saying this, then you're not entitled, and I will not dignify you with an explanation. So that's where we first have to start. Is like my sister said, this has gone on way before Trayvon Martin and the other individuals that have their lives have been claimed by white supremacy and systemic racism. This has been going on for a long time, and the whole time they have tried to change the premise of the conversation. I'm not going to let you do it. Number two, I'm not going to add on a two to nothing. I don't have to. I don't have to add a two to it. I don't have to explain it. I don't have to qualify it so it can fit the framework that you want. So let me calm down. But so that's where we got to start, at the foundation of it. And I think you did a great job, Shunqetta, in sharing the people that have lost their lives for no good reason at all. And Amber, you took it to the next level by taking us way back to Emmett Till and the rest of the people. We have been saying this. We're not going to change it. We're not going to qualify it. So just get used to it. That's all I got to say. And so at the end of the day, all lives matter. It's like my brother said, they're trying to weaponize Black Lives Matter to make it seem like we're coming up with something, some militia. Let me just say that the devil is a liar, and I'll move on.
The really confusing part for me,
I was going to have to ask one question. That's all I was going to have to do. I do ask that you all share this and invite people to this conversation, because it needs to be heard. But yes, please continue, Amber.
The conversation, and the reason it's frustrating, is because equality is already a law, right? You already must not discriminate on the basis of race and sex and gender and all of these other things that have been fought for. So we're not asking for equality. We're asking for equity. And equity is where you give what is needed to whom it is needed. So it's going to look like preferential treatment. It's going to look like specialized programs. But we didn't get the disparities that we have in health, in wealth, in healthcare, in education by giving equally. And we're not going to fix them by giving equally, right? So if you have shown up to the race for the cure and you didn't show up to the race for the cure and be like, but what about liver cancer? Then you understand that you give what is needed to whom it is needed when it is needed.
At the time.
That's it. If you did not show up to the ALS rally and be like, we got to work on Parkinson's, then again, what you are opposing, you could just say anti-Blackness. Your issue is that I'm asking for my Blackness to matter. And at the end of the day, what is facts is that, especially when it comes to the Black woman, we are visible and invisible simultaneously. You will use our likeness to sell everything from culture to makeup to vaccines. You will use our likeness and then still kill us in hospitals by not listening to us. So when we say matter, we know how much we matter because we move society along. Black women have drugged society along in every single movement. Women's suffrage, gay rights, civil rights, you name it. Black women just doing this. Just like Melissa Harris Perry said, the Black woman is the mule of America. And what happens is when we get there, everybody's like, well, how we get there? We got to a new place. And nobody puts the mic in the Black woman's hand that got us there.
Damn. See, woo, okay. I'm the moderator. Shunqetta, remember, I'm the moderator. Yes, Colton.
Yeah, so I'm so glad you said that. One of the big arguments that one of my students who is Black that I coach at Little Rock Central, so just for some perspective, talks about the way in which the Black woman's womb, the ungendering of it and how that controls, right? And people try to, one of the big arguments that people respond to in debate, is kind of like, well, capitalism and racial capitalism, And one of the things that I think anti-Blackness that Nicole keeps alluding to is provides a grammar of suffering for how we experience life, right? So when we say Black Lives Matter, that is a way in which we can collectively respond, let out a sigh of relief, and just, this is the same way it operates when you see a Black person across the room.
And you do this.
That's it. That's how right? And so I think that because that response to anti-blackness so roots and undergirds our society that when you are responsive to it, it's a knee-jerk reaction. You're unpatriotic, or you're not doing so-and-so, or whatever. It's like, no, this is not only something that affects us in the United States, but also globally, like Afro, Chinese.
The diaspora.
Yes, the diaspora, excuse me, like exactly. So I think that like that's a way in which, we all can kind of respond to it. And at the same time, like we're not a monolith either. The way in which, like you just said, all of the struggles and the suppressing of Black women, I have to understand as a Black man that I also
come through, Black man. You gotta come through, Black man.
That I also contribute to it, right? So I have to always respond and think about what is my place in responding to anti-Blackness, but also not recreating it in, my Black spaces, right? So I think that, constant reflection, like it matters, but I also have to ensure that my life shows that it matters on a micro level too.
Come on.
So what is problematic?
I just want to, can we highlight that Black man right there that understands?
That's why he's here. That's exactly why he's here. Y'all, that's my buddy. That's exactly why he's here.
Because it's one thing to experience patriarchy, and it's a whole other thing to experience racism and patriarchy, right? Like those two things are not the same.
Let me ask this. So with Black Lives Matter and the movement, why? So, and I know you all know, but I want you to share the historical context. So Bernice King reminds us often that when her father, Dr. Martin Luther King, died, he was the most hated man in America. And when he passed, the civil rights movement was seen as the #1 threat to this country. And so why is it that when it seems that African Americans decide to come together to rally and fight for the same things that our country is founded upon, you can't see my quotations because of the background, but so why is it that it seems like it's a threat once African Americans start coming together collectively and in a unifying perspective to move things forward? What's the threat?
The threat is that you're talking about a people that you have purposefully, intentionally, systematically, systemically oppressed, suppressed, outright killed, and they still laugh. They still rise. We still have Black joy and Black magic. We still have Black laugh, and you can't control any of it. And the reason that you are upset is because you think that we're sharing that Black Lives Matter for us. No, we know they matter. We're telling you that Black Lives Matter. We're sharing with you that Black Lives Matter because we're not confused about it. The fallacies that have been presented around like Black lives, like that's Black on Black crime. If you've never fixed your mouth to say white on white crime, if you've never fixed your mouth to say Mexican on Mexican crime, 80% of white people are killed by white people. Come tell me about white on white crime. Again, you have used—
the numbers are the same.
America, exactly the same. America has used the narrative of the lazy Negro, the angry Negro, the thieving Negro to do everything. And at the end of it, we still hashtag Black Lives Matter. At the end of it, we still hashtag Black Girl Magic, Black Excellence, Black Love. Like, it's here. It's pervasive. It's not going anywhere. And if every single time you tried to destroy something, it came back like with a vengeance, I'd be mad too.
Let me add to that. That's perfectly said. They know our quality. They know our intelligence. They know our integrity. They know that we built this country. Come on, somebody.
Wound up.
All right. So that is the threat. The threat is if I can keep Black folks divided, I will conquer them. But when they decide to come together, all of the intelligence that they have, all of the persistence that they have, it's going to make a difference. So that's the threat. It's that we are a people that are talented. We know how to do stuff. We know how to educate our own selves. When you didn't want to give us the books I'm getting mad about it now. You didn't want to give us the books, so we had to recreate books and all of this stuff and use old books, but we still rose up to the occasion. And that is the threat. You cannot get rid of us. We are here, and you're gonna have to deal with us.
You not just deal. Literally, we have to do things so differently, whether you like them or not. Michelle and Barack at home chilling at 50. They still fine, like just chilling. And
Say
they
that
done
about
ran,
my best friend. Tell the world again about my best
but
friend.
they done
Yeah.
ran the whole world at
Yeah.
50. We literally just finished voting over 70, 80-year-old white men. That's how good we have to be. We literally have to be so good that we can run the world and retire at 50 just so we can be seen as an equal. And that's what you don't understand. A people that you go around removing mailboxes so we can't vote. And still black women show up every election. Every single election. From the time Ida B. Wells stood out there with Susan B. Anthony to the time we were still standing out there in 64, black women have shown up and shown out in every election. I would be mad too, because it's called persistence. It's resilience. It's that stuff that when we're in the store and the girl is in the floor crying and you look at your child like, I wish you would.
I wish you
Right?
would.
That resilience right there. That's a whole different type of breed.
Yeah, and to add on to what you both said, I think another thing that drives the fear is the fact that we've been given so little and created everything that you all just named, from the GPS that we use to drive places to the thing that just landed on Mars. Like everything.
This filament over here.
The vaccine.
Everything. So that scares people, because collective organizing through blackness and the intellect, excellence, and everything that you just named is a literal fear, because it threatens, white supremacy, right? Or what have you, so, and that's kind of that's both what I love about us, and also, like, that's also the burden of blackness as well, right? You know that you have to kill it. I have to be a 15 out of 10 at least every day, to be taken serious at my job. I had to have my second master's before 26.
Come on.
So it's always unfair to all of us, but at the end of the day, we still rise. We still do everything. Yes.
What I love though about the diaspora is the fact that it is always, there is this collective that is innate. I mean, you could not know. We are in the U.S., are we not? Tell me you don't be rooting for Usain Bolt. He's in a whole different country. That's not us.
I was about to run just then.
Like, that is that
and
thread.
it's understood. It's so understood.
And that right there is what power is. When you can take a people from a land, strip them of their tongue, strip them of their heritage, strip them of their tribes, still watch them thrive, still watch them love, and then adopt each other like play cousins, right? We will add family. You got aunties that ain't your aunties right now. Your kids got 7 uncles. Like, that's who we are.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like Sam, you take things like TikTok. I look at TikTok and I'm like, why are we so creative? Like, literally, you take people that have been pressed down, given nothing, put in food deserts. You don't pay the school districts don't even have the same resources, and we are going to make it. We gonna make it. We gonna make it.
Can I add one more thing to that? The other reason why they are afraid is because of the guilt, and it's because they think that if we come together, we're going to treat them like they treated us. That's what it is.
That's it. That power imbalance.
I've heard people say that to me. But see, the truth of the matter is, that's not the type of people we are. We've had opportunities. Come on, to revenge and all this other stuff, and to do that, we've had that opportunity. All we want is, like my sister said, we just want equity. We want our fair share, and that's going to cost you to bump me up a little bit more. No, it's not equality. It's going to bump. You gotta give me what's mine that you haven't given me for the last 500, 600, 800 years. You've got to do that. And so they're afraid that once we get that power, we're going to use it to oppress them. So that's another reason why we're a threat. But
So with
I
Black
think that it's
Lives
also
Matter, I'm glad you said that, Jervonne. So with Black Lives Matter, and a part of this conversation that we spoke to before we got on here, giving back what is due. So what's your stance on reparations? And should that occur? We see the recent statement by President Obama, but reparations, many Black people are saying, hey, yeah, economically there should be some dollars you give to Japanese from with internment camps.
you give
There's
them to
been
everybody.
land and Native Americans. So what about African Americans? What do you all have to say to that?
I'll start off because I know my sister gonna come with the data over there. So let me
Don't you
get
ready?
my little 2
Don't
cents
you ready?
away.
She took a
Because
drink.
at the end of the day, yes, we deserve it because you gave it to everybody else without any question. And just because it's been years upon years upon years, I see these stimulus checks that you all of a sudden you come up with billions of dollars. Come on, somebody, and you can pay the entire
Say that.
of the United States. Now that bothers me a little bit because I'm like, wait a second. You know, you can't turn the machine on for Black folks for 3 or
Not the
4 days
machine.
and let us get what we're due and owe. So no, I agree. I believe in it. I believe that now I believe as we get going, as for my people, we need to be intelligent about it and useful with it, and
Say it. Say it.
understand what it is, and responsible. I believe that. But no, my position is if you can do it for everybody else, you can do it for us.
Colton, you want to hop in?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So my take on all this, I couldn't agree more. I think that not doing it is a grave injustice, especially when the people that reparations were given to didn't do as much for this country as Black people. So in a purely financial context, that matters. And in the context of a lot of these colleges and institutions, Harvard and most of the Ivy League and a lot of colleges along the East Coast built their money and have endowments from slave owners. So that also has to be taken into consideration as well. And on the last note, because I don't want to have a long answer, you can, under the last president, give the top 0.5% one kind of whatever tax cut, and it flew through Congress, and they were scribbling on the sides. But it got passed, and all the rich people got a tax cut, but we can't get a somewhat responsible stimulus check, you know? Like that, and that's a stimulus check, right? You can turn on the money machine for everybody else except the people that live.
For the 16% of the population. It's not even the entire population.
That's right.
Fraction.
Yeah.
Diversity specialist, our favorite. What you got? What you got for us, sis?
I think you take the word first. Reparations means to repair. It means that you are trying to be intentional about fixing a relationship. You need to amend the wrongs that have been done. So first and foremost, have you issued a formal apology? I want one. I want a formal apology for my ancestors. I want one for Anarcha, Betsy, and Lucy. I want one for Henrietta Lacks. I want one for Sandra Bland, and I want one for me. I want my apology from this country because we built it. And not only did we build it, but we built it well and we did it for free, okay? The reason to this day that the U.S. is an economic superpower is because they had free labor for 400 years. Acknowledge that. And then acknowledge that after you abolish the institution of slavery, you then found a new way to enslave those same people.
Incarceration, yeah.
We can talk about it, but let's first give me this formal apology. And then secondly, because this country has from the beginning been built on the Black, the brown, and the poor, right? There's just it, that even in a pandemic, still building Black and brown and poor, because that's who is dying because they're still in service positions, right?
Yeah.
The reparations is because of that. It is because to this day, from the beginning until now, the Black, the brown, and the poor have drugged this country along. We are the reason that there is commerce. we do not have the same amount of generational wealth to pass down because white rage has burned it down every single time they got a chance. That is what the reparations are for. The reparations are acknowledging slavery was legal. Jim Crow was legal. These things they didn't just happen out the blue. These weren't insurrectionists that did this. These were laws that were codified. So if you did that to codify, you can fix it and you will repair that relationship. And until then, Black Americans are in an abusive relationship. We're in a toxic relationship with this country, and it needs to be addressed.
Just like you said, toxic relationship. Another example of that, why do we have in the most recent legislative sessions across the country a bunch of bills to limit voting rights after Black women just carried the country in terms of voting, right? Like there's always a rage response. After Obama, there was a white rage, white lash response, and we had boom, that press. So it always happens. And that, like you said, shows that from day one up until the 25th of February 2021, it's a problem. It's still an issue.
Right. And we're continuing in that every time there's a threat, there is a judicial or legislative response to that. Hence yesterday's cowardly decision by the Arkansas House to pass the Stand Your Ground measure. And I do want to talk about that. Would be remiss for us to talk about Black Lives Matter, and then to have people post and to share like, well, in theory, it's actually a good law. It's a good, as if Arkansas do not already have enough measures on the books, or you can, a case where someone was not able to adequately defend themselves with a perceived threat, but hence we have a law to where you would now have the to be able to make a reasonable decision about a perceived threat and to stand your ground and to avoid fleeing from a potential conflict. So, with that, let's lead to this next question. When we talk about, well, you have a Black president, or well, you've had a Black president, now you have a vice president, but why do we need to ensure that Black people vote? Why do we need to become a part of these spaces? When you see things like yesterday happen, why is it necessary for us to be in every space? I'm a reserve police officer here. People, of course, had, issues with that. Jervonne, you're an attorney. But could you speak to that? Why is it, I know that's kind of twofold, but answer this one first. Why is it that it's important for us to be in these spaces to counter these things?
Because these are the spaces where the decisions are being made. I'm reminded of Langston Hughes's I Too Am America, his poem, where he talks about, I'm the darker brother. Keep in mind, he didn't look at himself as excluded from the family. He said I am the darker brother. I'm related to you. I am just like you are. But you send me to the kitchen to eat when company comes. But watch this. He says, but I just smile and I eat and I grow stronger, because one day, tomorrow, you're going to let me sit at the table and I'm going to show you how beautiful I am, and you're going to be. I'm reminded of that. We need a seat at the table, because the table is where the negotiations happen. The table is where the intimacy happens. The table is where the fellowship happens. And the table is where the nutrition happens, where we feed each other concerning our own lives, concerning our experiences. So we all need to be at the table, because it's the table where those decisions are made. Now, I don't need to just be at the table. I need to be able to speak at the table. And that is what we have to do as African Americans. Once we get these jobs, the attorney job, the leading diversity chairs jobs, the coaching, the teaching jobs, and all of these jobs, once we get them, we've got to speak up. You cannot hold these positions and keep your mouth closed, because you're no better than anybody else. And I'm getting tired of hearing played game, play the game, play the game. So when I first went to my law firm, I was told to play the game. I just went natural with my hair, and they told me to play the game. So I had to go get me a sew-in, and make sure that I looked the part, because I was afraid that when I got there, I wouldn't be accepted, as for me and my blackness. And so I was told to play the game. And at one point in my life, I said, you know what? I serve God. God is my protector. I don't have to play your game. That is the problem. I'm continuing to play by your rules. So that's what I think we need. We don't need just a seat at the table, Shunqetta. We need to be able to voice our opinions. And as Black people, we can't be quiet. So if that means you're risking your job, then so be it. So be it. I mean, because at the end of the day, God has not put us in these high positions for us to be quiet and not speak upon the issues that are oppressing our people. I cannot be the house Negro. I cannot and will not be the house Negro. I wish I could say the other word, but anyhow. But you see what I'm saying? We have to bring everybody else up with us, because that is when everything is going to be not on an equal playing field, but at least the considerations will be made once we enter into those realms and those sections of life.
And let me say this about being at the table. This is what I'm also learning, Jervonne, that and I had this conversation, actually, Ms. Emma's watching. I had a group of people that also, I was watching, what's the movie? One Night in Miami. And the character that plays Sam Cooke, what was one of my greatest takeaways from that is like, it's about being at the table. Then it's about also ensuring that you even have the same menu, because I am learning it. I think all of us have learned that we will get to that table and the conversation decision has already been made, and that it's a patronizing to you to say and to ask you of your opinion when something has already been done.
Right.
And so for us, I also think that we're going to have to learn how to be strategists as well. That as well as when you're coming to the table, you know that you are coming to leverage your power and your greatness. So therefore, you will not be fed the scraps when they've already planned the menu. But I really want for Colton and Amber to jump in on that.
Yeah. So the way I view it is we all have our talents, and they're different from everyone else. And I think that when you learn them and you find out, I think a lot of us suffer from the imposter syndrome, right? You get a place and then you feel like, oh, maybe I don't fit. The truth is that you are already overqualified to be there in the first place. So just resolve that in your head. And once you realize that, you can, what helped me with debate was, which is a very like white centric activity, was to just view it as an infiltration. I can do what they do, but I can do it better. And then I can read the kind of arguments about Black people. So then you learn certain strategies, and then you figure out, okay, now what can I do? Because my knowledge means nothing if I don't give it to people. What can I do to put people on? So as a teacher, for me, it's coaching my kids. If I get a Black child, oh my gosh, I'm gonna cultivate them. We're gonna read these anti-Blackness arguments, and we just gonna roll with it. We're gonna read some stuff about Little Rock 9 from Central, and we're gonna smack you in the face with it at these national tournaments for kids from prep schools, but also the kids in my classroom, right? I'm able to have discussions with kids in class, and I can build relationships, and they love me, Mr. Gilbert, cool. And I can be like, oh, watch it, your whiteness is showing. And we can kind of, have like a real like organic moment in class. And I think that helps too, because, Mr. Gilbert's unassuming, and he means well, and he knows his stuff, and he can kind of explain these things better than the other adults in your life, because maybe they don't have the tools or the nuance to do it, right? So I just think it's get there, have a voice, be able to institute change, but also don't make us regret putting you there, right? Like, don't, like, I was pulling for you, I wanted you to do well, but come on.
Just embarrassed.
Come on, don't do that to me. Like,
That's true. That's true to that.
One, I'm with you. Don't get here and embarrass us. Like when I think of embarrassing moments, I think of Charles Barkley when he said, "Us 1%ers, us what?"
Who?
That poor baby. I said he'd been really drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
So representation definitely matters. First of all, you can't be what you can't see, right? And I refuse to sit at tables that want my image for marketing, but don't want my voice for perspective. Okay, so
hold on, wait, no, say that again. You refuse to sit at tables who want your image for marketing, but not your
don't want my voice for perspective.
I need somebody to put that in the comments so I can make sure I remember that. Thank you.
Because it is imperative to listen to the voice that matters. Like there's a serious issue that when our white counterparts that are seeking to be allies, that are seeking to be co-conspirators, go grab White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo and Jane Elliott. So you're going to listen to white people about my experience. That's why representation matters. You could just pick up, you could literally just pick up Audre Lorde. There's so many Black authors that you can pick up, but that in and of itself is the problem, because anti-Blackness tells you, let me listen to white people about Black issues, right? And then we're still not telling our own story. So being at the table, yes, we do need to be at the table, but like Colton said, we don't always have the power at that table to, voice or equity is the issue. But if I know what's coming down the pipe, we are resilient. We can then say, listen, this is what's coming, and we organize differently because of that. So we need to be at the table. And even if you're at the table and you're silent in this moment, understand that when we are silent, we are still thinking, because we have always been taught to be on high alert. I mean, we don't even go in the grocery store without knowing who on what aisle. You know everybody. That's it. You know the 6 people that walk past you. You know where your body. You know your hands was like this. We are always hyper vigilant. So we are in this meeting, and even though I may not be using my voice, you can bet I'm using my brain. I'm sitting here mapping how I'm going to get this. Oh, you know what? I can kill this. I need to put this person. I need to make this person dislike this idea. This idea needs to be getting by. We're doing it all the time. And then the other party is, like we're saying, take up space. Take up space. And the reason that we have to acknowledge the younger people in the fight right now is because respectability politics, they gone. There is not one reason to wear a suit to vote. Not one. Okay? Period. You're making a spectacle of something that is your right as a citizen. They wore suits at Bloody Sunday, and they still left the dogs and hoses on them. So what is this suit protecting you from? If I come in my drawers and my do-rag, and I have an ID, you're still going to hand me a ballot and allow me to participate. So when I say take up space, be your multi-dimensional, Ave-speaking self. Come in that space. I see you. You talk to us the way you talk to us. You take up so much space that 3 people could sit down on either side of you. That's how much space we need to take up. And then when they get in, they take up so much space that 3 people can sit down on the side of them. And the more space we take up being our multidimensional selves, the more the next generation doesn't have to try to fit into that moldy box of what a good Blacks and good bias is.
Right. So let me ask you all something, because we've been talking about, and I'm glad we can pivot to this. We're taking up space. We're in these settings. We're speaking up. We are representing Kyle to the fullest and showing up as we always do. So when we're having this, we say Black Lives Matter. What is problematic for our white audience here and tonight? Or review this or is watching this but haven't clicked in so they can't see that we're watching, but you're here. So I really want you I really want you all to answer this. What is problematic when people say, well, I don't see color. I just see you.
What you see then? Tell me you don't see all this melanin. What if you are not blind and you're not colorblind, you see this Hershey. That's what it is. And by saying you don't see it, you think that you're letting yourself off the hook, but all you are doing is fortifying those systemic barriers that are affecting my life in a very negative way. How can you fix something you're unwilling to see? You just we got to get to a better tomorrow. This is what you're doing. Yeah. You're gonna take away something that makes up so much of our lived experience. How can you see me then? How could you possibly see me if you're not willing to see what affects me most?
That's right. I agree with that because I am color. So when you tell me that you don't see color, then you don't see me. And that's an insult. So I know for my white brothers and sisters, I appreciate what you're trying to say and what you're trying to do, but you're perpetuating the problem. I am color. I am beautiful. I am black. I am melanin. Whatever you want to do and whatever you want to say, that's me. So you cannot in one voice acknowledge me as a person, but then say I don't see color, I don't see race, I don't see this and that. That is the problem. And I like how the diversity initiative has shifted from just being diversity, but it's called diversity and inclusion, because diversity means I just got a seat at the table. And you just make a little black spot and you check off the box to say that you got a black person in this position. But inclusion means that you see me. Come on, you see all of me and you invite all of me, all of who I am, all of my blackness, all of my Negrohood. Come on, everything about me you invite to the table and you support. That is where we need to get, supporting who I am. So I don't need you to be colorblind, because justice wasn't colorblind 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 100 years ago. It wasn't colorblind then. You saw exactly what you were doing, and you told me that I was different. You told me, and the law said I was different. So don't try now to say I don't see color. No. Open your eyes so you can see it for now. And if we get down the road and you don't want to see color then, that's fine, but I need you to see me today.
You see it in fashion. You see it in nature. You see it in art. You proud to see it everywhere else. There are 4 people on this screen that all identify the same, and these shades are different and gorgeous. Why would you want to miss that? Why would you want to look in a field of flowers and be like, yes, those are flowers?
Yes, and to piggyback on that, you can't understand blackness as a whole until you get past this color blindness, because the next step after that is you view us as a monolith. So even if you get past that initial barrier, we still have to dog walk you through the next portion, which is we're not a monolith, and I shouldn't have to qualify that I'm a good black, whatever that means, or because I was put in a system where I, may have had to commit a misdemeanor or two, and that followed me. Now I'm a bad person or that kind of thing. So we have to get past the fact that my life needs a qualification, especially when a lot of non-black people have things swept under the rug, or things erased out of their records, or things are sealed to never be seen again, like, because we don't want to ruin his chances, right? There was a sexual assaulter who went to school, who went to jail for Brock Turner for like a few months, because we don't want to ruin his. Are you serious to me? Come on, man. Right. We have to think about that kind of stuff, and that is what color blindness allows. It's kind of like just kind of passive resistance of whiteness. It's just like, well, I don't really see it, so I don't have to do anything about it. No, you do have to do something about it. You should do something about it.
And we mentioned imposter syndrome earlier, and I just want to say, like, imposter syndrome, we need to be able to speak about things in context and call a spade, right? Very often you hear things like race is the most salient issue in today's society, and race is this. No. Nobody ever woke up and died being black. Nobody was like, I'm black, I died. Like, that's not like, racial bias is an issue. Racial prejudice is an issue. Racial discrimination is an issue. Race in and of itself, I like being black. What about you? Because hey, you know what I'm saying? Cicely Tyson was 400 and still looked fabulous.
Listen. The fact that I had to ask God, like, did you really take her? Because I just, you better say that.
We've been grown our whole life. And again, so I'm here for all this, but speak in context. Say things accurately. Don't make it sound like my race is the issue any more than imposter syndrome should really be called, black people get a little uneasy having to fit in white spaces because they're not accepted. That's what we should say. We're not imposters. We are most certainly who we are, and we are qualified. The same way we need to stop saying, this is the first Black person. No. This is the first Black people, whites allowed.
Yeah.
That's what it should say. Because you're not going to tell me that Barack was the first one that was capable of being president. You're not going to tell me that Thurgood was the first one that capable of, right? So first Black, whites allowed would be accurate. Speak in context and stop making it seem like my skin is the issue, your prejudice is the problem.
Woo! That's good.
Where is the virtual collection plate? Somebody started.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
Man, okay. That was awesome, y'all. I told y'all, didn't I tell y'all they're fantastic? So I have two last questions. It's already, we're already at the hour. We're talking about Black Lives Matter. I really want you all to answer this before we get to our last question. Why? Because this is a leading question because you all should know where I stand. Why is Black Lives Matter not a threat or a danger to this country?
Well, I'll start off. Here's the issue. People don't like being uncomfortable. And when you present something that makes them uncomfortable, they always see it as a threat. And here's the thing. As Black people, we have to make you uncomfortable. And so I do not apologize for saying Black Lives Matter. How you perceive it is on you, but I have to make you uncomfortable or you will never change. You have got to be put in a position where you want to move. Everybody goes to bed at night, and when you get in an uncomfortable position, guess what? You don't just sit there and just say, well, I'm just going to be uncomfortable. You shift, you move, you position yourself. And this is what Black Lives Matter is. It's making you uncomfortable because we are using our voice and we are saying, as we have for hundreds of years, we matter and we're going to show you that we matter. Now it's time for y'all to accept that we matter because we know that we matter. And here's the thing. We're not going to make you comfortable. We're going to intentionally make you uncomfortable so you can change and roll around in this bed and find a better position. You're not going to be able to sleep the way you've been sleeping for the last 500 years. We are demanding a change. And that is what Black Lives Matter means. It's not a threat. It is we understand who we are. And we're going to continue to say this and do this and be this. And it's now time for you to accept that we matter. And if you don't, we're going to continue to make you uncomfortable. Now, I don't want anybody to go and tell the police officer I'm starting an insurrection. Well, first of all, if you can't get let me not do that.
You ain't gonna make it, dog. You ain't gonna make it. You not. You won't even be on the no-fly list. You just not gonna make it.
You don't convict such and such. That don't come down knocking down my door trying to convict me. But we are not going to lose hope. We are going to continue to say what we're saying, and it's not a threat. It's just a conversation and a mantra that you too can be a part of if you would get beyond your biases and white supremacy and bigot nature and prejudice. You can be a part of that conversation.
Oh, virtual collection plate. Hope y'all started it.
Yes.
Jumping in.
I'll go next if you don't mind. I think that there is no physical threat in terms of like to America. And I think that's how it gets weaponized as, militant and that kind of thing. But the only threat that it exists to is antithetical to white supremacy. So if you hear Black Lives Matter and your knee-jerk reaction is be like, then that's a gut check moment is what we're saying, right? That's a gut check moment because it's not that proves that what has always been our problem, what has always been your problem has always been put on us, right? So that's not our burden. And so when we flip the narrative, as Jervonne just said, and make you uncomfortable, that is just a small, very small subset of what we go through all the time, right? Ooh, so when I make you uncomfortable, when I do certain things and I say certain stuff, and you look at me and I look at you, I said it and I meant what I said. And if you uncomfortable, I respectfully or disrespectfully, I don't care how you take it, don't care. Because at the end of the day, If it triggered you because it violated white supremacist clauses or means, then I'm fine with that. But it is not a physical threat. It is only a threat because it is antithetical to white supremacy. That's my take on what threat outlier it may create.
Piggybacking on both those, like James Baldwin said, we can disagree and still love each other unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my right of humanity and to exist, right? The reason that Black Lives Matter and saying that Black Lives Matter is not a threat is simple. It is simple because the same people that are saying this, the Black women that are saying this, the Black women that have been in a toxic relationship with this country since its existence, still picked up those white babies and nursed them. Those same Black women that have been in a toxic relationship still walked and marched next to suffrage during suffrage, right? And said, no, we won't have separate marches. We won't do it. We're going to march together. They need to see us. Those same Black women that are in a toxic relationship, even sometimes with people who look like them, who started the civil rights movement, but we only talk about Malcolm, Martin, and Mandela, and we don't talk about Fannie and everyone, right? Those same Black women who, there are very few scientists that would deny that life started in Africa. So because we are motherly, and because we have been mothering, how would it be bad for you to say, you know what? They have cared for us. Wow, I wonder what they would do if we cared for them. Think about it just a moment.
Yeah.
I tell everybody, America will be truly in trouble the day the Black woman gives up on this country. The Black woman is the reason that Black men go to work. Baby, go ahead. Come on, you got one more day in you. The Black woman is the reason that Pawpaw still went to work. The Black woman is the reason that we understand. You see, you may not be able to understand 2 fish and 5 barley loaves of bread, but if you know a Black woman, you're like, that makes sense to you, right? Because if you know a single mom that can do that today, okay? Black women have been carrying this country, even though they have beaten us, abused us, they have tried to suppress us, they have literally stolen elections in front of our face. And we still say, I'll show you, I'll show you, I'll show up. We show up for everyone else's movement, even when they don't show up for ours. We riot and rally in the streets for Tamir and Eric and Philando. Where was everybody when Sandra was killed? Why didn't Black men riot in the streets for us? So all I have to say is that when the water rises, all the ships will rise, right? And until this country works for the most vulnerable of us, then it truly works for none of us. But the other side of that is until you understand that the most vulnerable of us are the ones still trying to care for you, you need to understand that, like R. Kelly said, when a woman's fed up,
ain't nothing.
America will be all bad. I promise you that. You don't want the Black woman to give up. You don't want it.
No.
That's why it's not a threat to America, because we've saved this country even when they have shunned us every time.
Woo! The virtual collection plate should be in the million right now. You all, I told you I had the easiest job in the world. I think the hardest part of this is ending this conversation because you all have the inbox and chats on fire. But I would like to add, because this is Courageous Conversations for Action, that not only are we talking about things, but we're also going to act upon them. And as you can see and as you can hear, they do this every day. But I would like to end, I hate to do this. This conversation, like, it's like, you know how you meet your boyfriend, and you know, your new boo, like, no, you hang up. I really don't want to hang up, but I have to.
Just go to sleep on the phone.
Man, my word, you all are so phenomenal.
You sleep?
No,
No.
nope.
Man. No. And they wake up. You fell asleep. Nuh-uh.
Uh-uh. And then everybody get in trouble. Get off their phone. Yes, ma'am.
Right. Oh, my mom was on here, Carolyn Barnes, and she had picked up the phone me today. Nicole.
Ooh, that's it. You was in trouble. If you was in trouble if Daddy picked up the phone. If Daddy.
Oh, my word. But y'all, this is so great. But I do have to end again. It's courageous conversations for action. So I will end with this question. So we can just start. Whoever wants to jump in. Well, I'll just start as I see you on the screen, Jervonne. What's your courageous action that you will continue to do to ensure that you fight for equity for African Americans?
Okay, well, let me just say this. I am an attorney in Dallas, Texas, for a very prestigious, great law firm, Lynn Pinker, Hurst and Schwegman. And one of the things that I like about the law firm that I'm at is they are doing the groundwork for diversity and inclusion in the firm. We're a boutique firm, so we're not nation. We don't have several offices all over the nation, but we're doing what we can do as a small firm to be a part of the commitment to diversity and inclusion. And so, with that said, that's one of my actions as well, is to continue to be the beacon of light and the person at the table, as my sister said, where they are inviting my perspective and not just my image. And so I believe that my law firm is doing that, and other law firms in the area are doing that. And I am making sure that I am being all of me and bringing all of me to those conversations, and not shine back simply because I need to play the game or what have you. So that's one area. The second area is I have made it a point to be a part of my community, not just in Dallas, but in Jonesboro. I'm part of the MLK parade and committee that they do a lot of different things and asked me to be a part of that. I'm a part of different local events that may happen in Jonesboro. And one thing that I said is I am going to continue to educate our people. And so with this stand your ground, we didn't get a chance to talk about it. We're gonna have to have a separate section.
We can.
But because I got something to say, but I can't say it now. But what we need to do is we need to educate and empower our people. I don't want another Black unarmed person to get gunned down. I don't want that to happen. So what does that mean? We need to educate our people about how to protect themselves. If it's gun ownership, come on, then we got to do it. If it's taser ownership, then we've got to do it. And we've got to make them responsible. So I said that if they're going to pass this law, then I vow to hold a conference however many times necessary to educate our people on how to go get licensed for a gun and all this other stuff, because at the end of the day, you need to be able to protect yourself as well, if it comes down to it. And if they see you got what you got and they got what they got, then everybody gonna go on their separate way. Come on. But if they because right now they look at us as just our presence is a threat. So that's what this law doesn't understand. Our presence is a threat. Just being Black is a threat, according to Trayvon Martin, where he didn't have any weapons or anything, but he was just Black in a place that this man didn't think he should be. So we got to define what threat is. And so if somebody thinking that they're threatened by something and they can just pull out a gun, that's not fair. So I am going to continue my action by educating the Black people in knowing how to protect themselves with this stand your ground law that comes about, and anything else that comes up after that. I want to continue to educate us.
Oh, awesome. Colton, what's your courageous action to continue to the fight for equity for African Americans?
Yeah, definitely. I think multi-pronged, two-part. The first is I think you have to find ways to get places and find ways to localize the conversations around us and get things for Blackness, right? Equity. And I think for me, it was finding out that, all I needed to do was write a topic paper. So I wrote one, I wrote another one, And now the paper that I wrote a couple years ago is a national policy debate topic this year, which is criminal justice reform. How about that? How about that? Every kid across the country doing policy debate is debating about, criminal justice reform. Urban debate leagues have increased recruitment, all kinds of things, right? Like that's awesome. But on a micro level, I have to take my education and use it and expand it to people, right? There was a book that I reading with one of my debaters. It was called Hood Feminism, Notes from a Movement. By Mickey Kendall. It was an amazing read. And in fact, it was more powerful for me than it was for my student because it helped me understand it. Like, it helped me understand my relationship with my sister better. And I'm 22 years old, right? So like, that was that. So like, there are things out there that we need to, when we get things, we got to network, right? I know Black plumbers, electricians, et cetera, et cetera. If I know somebody needs something done, I'm putting my people on because they've done good things for me. So I think that's a part of it, to make sure that, we support, Blackness, but also that we don't recreate the same oppressive structures that we have to deal with out there. Like, let's at least not have it in here. Let's just leave it out there and let in here be safe. So that's my answer.
Oh, that was awesome. And look, and speaking to that, Jervonne, you have me as a resource, you already know, for that conference. I see Mark Elkins has jumped on here. We know that he specializes in training, and we're going to make that happen. And you know that. You all know I will put together and host a conference in a minute. So that's a done deal. But I want to ensure that we get our sister, our favorite diversity specialist, and who is a jewel. It is not because we don't know another, because you are the epitome of this conversation and topics. And so I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate what you add and the value that you add that makes us all better in hearing. And so what's your courageous action to continue the fight for equity for African Americans?
My work will speak for itself, so that's fine. So my sons are my legacy. I have a 15 and a 17-year-old, and these are Black males. And my 15-year-old is 6 foot. So I know I see a baby boy, but the world sees a Black man. In that, it is important for me to make sure I express to those Black men how to protect Black women. That's my legacy. That is what I want them to. I want my sons to be the men that know how to hold space for their mate. I want my sons to be the ones that, my father was the first feminist I ever met, okay? There was never this, you can't do this because you're a girl. It was, okay, well, let's do it. So I want my sons to understand that a helpmate is what you're looking for and what that looks like, but how to hold space for her once she's there, how to make room for her voice, how to amplify her voice, how sometimes you're not the one that needs the mic, son, hand it to her. That is what I want to do. And then the other part of that, because again, the work is the work, I want to continue holding space for Black women. I want every Black woman that I encounter to know it's okay to not be okay. We have carried the strong woman, the strong Black woman trope around our neck like a noose for so long that we don't even know that it's okay to not be okay. I want to continue to hold space for my sisters. I want to hold space so that we know you can start conversations with yes, queen, and then with girl, and you still are professional in that. I want us to know that you can come in your locks. You can come with your colorful nails because your intellect, your beauty, your essence, the ancestors have already paved the way, and all we have to do is honor who we are. It is who we are. So I want to teach my sons and hold space for Black women. That's what I want my legacy to be.
Ooh, okay, it's the boyfriend girlfriend moment. So I have to end this conversation today. But the fourth Thursday in March, I don't know. Lord, give me a topic to where I have to invite all of them back. He's going to do that. He's going to do that. Thank you all so much. Thank you to every person that joined. Thank you to every person that watched. Thank you to every person that will watch the replay. Thank you to every person that wanted to click on but was hesitant, but will watch it later after this. The whole point of Courageous Conversations for Action is for you to really, really take a deeper look into these conversations, and then to recognize that we all are a work in progress, and that we all can, there's space for improvement. And some of us just have to be more intentional in that journey. And it could go against the whole culture and everything that you've known, everything that you've been brought up, and everything that you've heard. But it's okay. It's okay, because we're continuing as African Americans to do that. We continue. I proudly say that Black Lives Matter, because we do. And I am just so thankful that I had these brilliant people to convey that.
Can we just throw out that ain't nothing wrong? I mean, there ain't nothing wrong with Huey P. Newton's plan. The 10-point plan can still work if we just want to. Just if we still looking for. I'm just saying, if we still looking for frameworks, I'm just saying that ain't nothing wrong with that one. Ain't nothing wrong with that plan at all.
That's a whole. Now that is a part two about just movements and listen. See there, Laura. Then I asked. Let me tell you how God just works. Then I asked for a reason. Should we not talk about other movements and how Black Lives Matter is just an extension of Black Panther Party, of SNCC? Listen, didn't I tell you? Look, isn't God faithful? He just did it. Okay,
Part two.
I see you. But thank you all so much again. I'm going to end this live. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Hold on one second. I just want to ask the people, I'm not meaning to take over the hosting, but
no,
those who are still watching, it's not just for us to have these courageous actions, but it's up to you as well. So I challenge each and every person who is watching to type down in the comment what your courageous action is going to be. Do not sit on the sidelines. Silence picks a side. I'll say it again. Silence.
Somebody put that quote in there too.
So what didn't King say? It's not the actions of it's the silence of our friends that we'll remember most.
So please type it down, because we want to go back and look at it, and we want to support you in your actions as well. So God bless y'all. Sorry about that, Shunqetta. Go ahead.
No,
you can go to YouTube. Listen. Follow us on YouTube. We put tips and tools and tips to inclusivity all on the page. There you go.
And that's the Diversity Booth Inc.
The Diversity Booth Inc. Yes.
Okay. And if you can, if you're in the Little Rock area, I need you to support and call people that you know, because we need to get Colton elected as president of the Little Rock School Education Association.
Yes, LREA. Yes. Running.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, that needs to happen. And yeah, I need you all to meet me and ensure that no one books these people for the 4th Thursday in March, so that they can be right here as we continue this conversation and courageous conversation. Thank you all so much for joining again. Share the video as well. I appreciate it. Please share the video. And yeah, we're going to see y'all again in next month. All right. So thank you all so much for joining us tonight.
God bless.